We're Hannah and Nathan, and for the past few months we've been converting our Ford Transit minibus to Vancouver. We've always dreamed of taking on a self-build project, and we're excited to share our conversion process and travels thereafter. Join us for regular updates on our van conversion journey as we figure out our conversion and get Vancouver ready for some climbing adventures in Europe. In this episode, we tidy up some loose ends as storm flare hits the UK, scuppering our plans to install our overhead fan. And Marlo the dog joins us for some moral support. Marlo, you need to get some wood. Do you reckon Marlo likes going out on journeys? Okay, so good morning everyone, welcome back to another video and another weekend on the van. I'm sat with Marlo in the van. Marlo's waiting for Nathan to come back, which is why he's whining. Marlo, Nathan and I have come to Mid-Sussex Timber to pick up some wood, and this weekend we're going to work on the van. So this weekend we were hoping to fit our overhead fan, but that involves cutting a hole in the metal roof of the van, and we're due a storm this weekend. And the weather's been, it's pretty nice now, but the weather's been really wet, so we thought it might not be the best weekend to cut a hole in the van. Marlo, please be quiet. If you can. Good boy, thank you. There's a couple of bits that I need to get figured out this weekend in terms of interior design. We have some paint choices to make, so I'll show you kind of like what we're choosing between. And then beyond that, we're just going to kind of hang out with Marlo for a little bit. Marlo, say hello. I'm not interested. And you can get to know Nathan and I a little bit better if you've only just started watching the channel. So yeah, I hope you enjoy this weekend and this video, and I'll see you when I next have something to update you on. On Saturday morning we set to work fixing some odd jobs on Vancouver under the watchful eye of Marlo.
Putting in roof nuts for things to fix the overhead cabinets onto. Be a cycle.
Our aim for the weekend was to prep for the overhead cabinets to be fixed in the next few days and finish up on a few unfinished jobs. My first job today is to pick some colours for the overhead cabinets and like paint colours for walls, and also like a darker colour for the underneath cabinet. So I think we've pretty much decided that we're going to go light on top, slightly darker on bottom, just for a little bit of contrast. So I have cracked out some Faro and Ball samples. So I feel like Faro and Ball is a bit like quite an expensive paint, and actually I feel like all paint is pretty expensive. I hadn't really realised before trying to pick out paint, because it's not something we've ever really done before. Like, we've always lived in rented accommodation, so we've never had to paint anything. Really, the paint is so expensive, and Faro and Ball is like quite an expensive brand of paint when paint's expensive anyway. So I'm using some samples to paint a little piece of wood here, which I'll show you in a minute, with colours that I think we might be going for. I personally really quite like neutral colours, and I want the van to be quite neutral, but I feel like it's a bit of a fine line to tread. I don't want everything to be beige or white, because I think it can end up looking a little bit flat or a bit clinical. So we do want some contrast. So I've picked out a couple of like darker colours. This one here that I've just applied is called Mole's Breath. I'm not sure if I want Mole's Breath in the van. Maybe it's a little bit too dark. It's kind of like a dark grey browny colour. And then so far I've just applied one called Smoked Trout, London Stone, and something which Nathan and I are calling Dimitri, but I don't think is actually called Dimitri. It's called something else. But yeah, I'm like always drawn towards really neutral, like kind of whites, beiges. What else is there to say? I'm painting samples. I'll show you how they look. So this is what I'm currently dealing with. I think so far these two are my favourite. This is just one coat, so I need to add another coat on top to get more of an idea of what they would actually look like in real life, like once applied, but this is feeling a little bit too dark. And then these two, this one I think is a no. This one I quite like the kind of like peachiness to it, but I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. Let me get that out of the way. I don't know. What do you reckon? I'm thinking Dimitri's might be the one so far, but I've only applied 5, so I need to crack open some of these. I've got Card Room Green, which I'm quite curious to see on the wood.
So like
this one I
finish. Oh really?
Yeah.
Well, if we've haven't got a tub of that one, then
what's this one?
What is that one?
Oh no.
Slipper white.
No.
Is it this one? Have you put ones that you've used somewhere? Strong white, is it that?
No, it's called like Pointer. After being too painfully middle-aged for our own good, Nathan and I set to attaching baton strips to provide the support for our cabinets. I don't know what wooden material prices in other places of the world are right now, but in the UK they're really crazy high, so we're pretty precious over making sure we don't mess up our measurements.
No, that's not working, is it?
What are you trying to do?
Just attach this piece of wood that the bolts we have got aren't long enough. I was just trying to put it in temporarily with some bolts that are almost long enough. But that one is long enough to go in, so I don't mind using that one.
Then it was time for me to start the seemingly never-ending task of sanding and varnishing the wooden elements already in the van. So, my next job, you might be able to hear the sander behind me, my next job is to open this interior varnish. But then after that, basically we've taken everything in the van that we might want to paint. No. Everything that we don't want to paint, we're going to sand and varnish. And then everything that we do want to paint, we've left as. And then everything that we do want to paint, we're not going to sand and varnish. We're going to leave it in situ and then take it out and paint it. It's a bit nerve-wracking, if I'm honest. Okay, so I need to varnish this.
Okay, like.
It's harder in the light to see what you've done. So basically, because it's been so wet this weekend, we can go ahead with the installing the fan, like the fan that you have to cut a little bit of the roof of the van to install. So we're having a bit of an odd job this weekend. So at the minute I'm varnishing a piece of wood, I think. What is this, one of the dividers for the back?
Yeah.
And yesterday we sanded and varnished various bits of wood, the bits that we won't be painting. And then I think Nathan and his dad are gonna get all their ducks in a row for the fan install, so that when we get a little stint of dry weather, we'll be able to install that.
We have officially changed the weight from it being a 4.1 ton vehicle to a 3.5 ton vehicle. which means that you can drive it on a normal driving licence if you got your driving licence after 1980 or something like that. Right, sticky back a bit off. As on the instructions, be very careful. It's not going to be straight, it's going to annoy us forever, isn't it? Oh shit.
Ta-da.
And this has probably been the hardest thing we've done so far.
What, the paperwork?
Yeah, all the paperwork. It was quite easy, but it just took forever. Contacted like a company that arrange it all for you, called SV Tech. And that just takes a couple of weeks for their paperwork to arrive, then you have to fill it out and send it off to the DVLA. And that took about a month to come back, but then they asked for pictures of the seats, because I also changed the seats at the same time. So then we had to take some pictures and get them printed off and send them off. And then another couple of weeks later, finally all got confirmed. I thought this had a front to it that I presumed I was about to peel off, but maybe that is the sticker. Oh yeah, I think that might be this part. I don't know. Well, I'll leave it. I think it's got a paper front on it, but when I start peeling the paper front off, the whole thing starts coming off. Drafted in the sticker expert.
Well, the person with nails. Then more varnishing for me as Nathan built a cover for our bulkhead. So, I think at this point, if I never have to varnish anything again, I'll be a happy lady.
Kind of feel like we've gotten closer in the sense that we've put a lot of hours in that needed to be put in, but we haven't got a lot to show for it. We've done all our measuring up for the max air fan installation, and because it's on a Ford Transit roof, it kind of, where you install the fan sits in a couple of gullies, so we were just working out exactly how we were going to level the roof off, and I think we'll order up some PVC plastic strips to try and use as almost like packers underneath the fan so that you can seal it down on a flat surface. We've put up a couple of bits of batten on both sides of the van, which are like going to be some of the supports for the overhead units, and start to think about how we're going to build the overhead units. And then Hannah has spent most of the weekend sanding, varnishing, dusting, varnishing, sanding, dusting, varnishing over and over on all of the wood that we've got in the back of the van, kind of in the garage area, to seal it all up. It's just a clear varnish to kind of give some moisture protection on the wood really. And then I've kind of turned the template that I had cut out of MDF for the bulkhead area. I've now like turned that into a poplar plywood version of a kind of piece of wood that blocks off some of the space above the driver's head kind of area, and we're not sure if we're going to carpet it or varnish it, but it's kind of ready to go however we do it now.
Do you want to show which bit you mean? Well, actually you can see which bit you mean. What's next?
The fan. I think it's good weather, yeah.
Okay, so
this is the real drama. This is the real entertainment.
A lot going on. So we have now ordered the foam for the bed, which I think I mentioned in our last video is expected to take 1 to 3 weeks to arrive. I think we must have ordered it a couple of weeks ago now, right? So when that comes, we just need to like
Upholster. That's a good word.
I think it's like we need to sew the covers so that we can actually use them as like mattresses, and then we'll have a bed and a mattress. So if we can get some bedding, then even though we're like so far from being finished, I reckon we could probably take it for maybe like a night away. Maybe we'd stretch to a weekend. I think we could do. It'd be an uncomfortable weekend, but I think it would be quite fun to take it somewhere local and just do like a couple of nights as our like first little van trip. But yes, thank you very much for following along this weekend. It feels like we didn't get that much done, but I feel like we chipped away at a lot of small jobs, so I think we did. We put a lot of time in, and yeah, a little bit closer to having a finished van. But I'll definitely update you when our mattress comes, and when we, I don't know, what's the next thing? The next thing is the fan, I'm told. We're just gonna go here. So yes. So that's all for this weekend. It wasn't our most thrilling weekend so far on the build, but we did chip away at jobs that needed doing, and we're really excited to continue with the build next weekend, when hopefully we'll get some dry weather to fit our fan.